Hi, everybody, and welcome, Sasha Graham. Wait, I have a little banner for you. Welcome. Woo!
That's awesome.
So, I don't know if you can see the comments. There's off on the side. There's one that says private chat, and then next to it says comments.
Oh, wow. I just clicked on comments. I see a ton of them. Awesome. Hi.
Hi, everybody. Welcome, Jamie and Scott and Deanne and Gerald and Regina and everyone else coming in. So today we have the lovely Sasha Graham, creator of the Dark Wood Tarot. And I wanted to talk a little bit about this deck with you because I know you have a sequel deck in the works. So.
It's true, I do. You've done your homework, haven't you?
Well, I've also been following you on Instagram, so got to see some of those pictures.
Yeah, not much that I use. Aren't they gorgeous?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I always pull a few cards just to talk about the imagery and like what the meaning that you wanted to portray in it are. So I have a little small pile here. I love this one because it's Seven of Swords, but I also get the Red Riding Hood story. It looks like she's waiting to pounce on the wolf.
Yeah, that's right. She's not your average damsel in distress by no means.
Mm-hmm. I just gotta say, I love how there's borders but no borders at the same time. First time I've ever seen that in a deck, and I really, really love it. And then this one, I was reading about it in the book because I was like, Six of Wands, what is this? And it was a deep story.
Very, very deep story. Well, yeah, this is a shadow deck. So I really wanted to go deep into or give the potential for people to go deeper than maybe a traditional tarot reading. So there's a lot of themes of women and children and myth and darkness and fear. Because, I always say we read tarot to discover what we don't know, right? We don't read tarot to just tell ourselves, to make ourselves feel better. And so I wanted to go deep and I wanted to go dark. So yeah, the Six of Wands certainly that.
If you don't have the dark colors, the bright colors are just blinding. Right?
Oh, exactly. You have to have the contrast. And it's one of the things that I think it's I think it's an injustice to the nature of the universe to think that light is the end all be all, because the nature of the universe is dark and darkness holds all potential, right? So this construct that love and light is great, and shining the light of our consciousness, that's a beautiful thing. But we just happen to be on a planet that's rotating around the sun. So and daytime is our waking normal, but really it's the true nature of the universe is nighttime, right? It's darkness, it's vast space, and inside of that holds, I think, all magic and potential. So yeah, it makes me really excited to help people get very comfortable with all forms of darkness. Literal and metaphoric.
Well, and for me, the idea of the light and the dark always comes back to the idea of yin yang, where it's like without the two, you wouldn't have the whole. And everything has an aspect of light and darkness within it, and each of those aspects of light and dark also has a light and dark side. So it's like layers of light and dark. Yeah. And if you discredit one, so they say that if you separate the light and the dark, you get death. But if they're together, that's when you have life.
That's when you have life. And to just to add on to that, what's really interesting is that light and dark are not equal, right? Light is very tiny. Light's like our point of view, our perception, what we see. Right? Darkness is infinite. Darkness is infinite.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can't see the starlight without the darkness of night, right?
Not at all.
So,
not at all.
So this next card I pulled because it's very interesting to me, being that usually the Ten of Wands, you see someone really struggling, but in this one, she is very powerful and just like holding her wands and no problem. Got one out to be the light in the darkness, right?
Yeah, so Pamela Coleman Smith holds her 10 of Wands image from the Solar Boost Ball deck, which is, and I've never, while I understand that the nature of Wands is so exhaustive, like by the time you're done with whatever your passion project, idea, love affair, like by the time like Wands is done having its way with you, yeah, you're exhausted, right? That's one aspect of like the finality of the suit of Wands. But I think that we shouldn't be fooled by that single image and think that we couldn't also be utterly glowing and resplendent once maybe we've had our way with the wands, which is exactly what I was trying to express with this image. The fact that, and it's a very Queen of Wands thing as well, like a woman, a human, a being who is completely kind of in her fire power. Yeah.
Embracing the burden instead of trying to like either get squished by it or put it down.
Yeah, and so like the Fool, who's got all the wands or the bag, the experience behind her, and then is using, using like that kind of very healthy fire that she's cultivated to move forward into the ace, right? So theoretically, she's holding the Ace of Wands in her hand, and the cycle begins again, only on the next level. Right.
I love that, actually. Yeah, that makes sense. The Ace of Wands right there. Yeah. I love that. So the next one is also a little different than what we're used to seeing, but at the same time is very, very powerful, and that's the Four of Swords here.
Yes. Oh, I love this card. I had so much fun. Oh my God. It's so, can I just say, it is so fun creating tarot decks because you're taking, right, these like images and ideas and archetypes that you've worked with and just kind of taking it to another level. And it is very antithetical to the peace and kind of repose that you normally see in the Four of Swords. But I just felt very strongly as if there is a certain kind of equanimity that you need in your mind to be completely stable mentally, but still be ready for the next thing. And what comes after the Four, the Five, which is always a challenge. So it's kind of like she's gearing up for what's coming next. And I love that idea of kind of switching the sleeping fairy tale where she's not quite so passive as she might.
Right. She might be sleeping, but she's ready to go if she needs to.
Or maybe she's laid a trap, set the whole entire thing up. And maybe having perhaps revenge is the only thing that will give her mind peace. Not revenge in the negative, dark, like I let you back, but he certainly seems like a very nefarious character who needs to be stopped. So I think
something just struck me. They almost look like the figures from the Lovers card.
Yeah.
Huh.
Could be. We've all been there, haven't we? Ready to turn over and murder someone in our sleep.
So I actually skipped the Five of Swords and jumped straight to the Six of Swords here.
Yeah.
Just because you see her rowing in the boat, but then that figure in the background reaching out and grasping, that's something I've never seen on a Six of Swords card. So that just kind of
Yeah.
really
So
struck me.
I loved the idea that looking at this particular image, you don't necessarily know kind of who is in the right and who is in the wrong. Is the woman in the boat taking back perhaps a child that was already hers? Or has she stolen it? And this idea of crossing and moving between realities, while, and again, you can see the alligators there as
Right.
well, adding this kind of extra layer of danger. This idea of female kind of fertility. I was reading this deck during the election, the one 4 years ago, and I
Right.
was seeing a lot of female on female negativity, darkness, and hatred that seemed to stem from nothing else other than by the fact that there were successful females. And so I was really vested in how women relate to one another and how they support each other or break each other down. So that's why there's a strong feminine element to this deck. And I think that with the child, yeah, the issues of fertility are really interesting as well. Yeah, the way that women can almost weaponize that if they choose to.
Right. Mhm.
Yeah, so it seems fitting for a sword. It seems fitting.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's all thought, right? And almost the alligators almost have sword-like teeth as well, which kind
Woo!
of so many layers.
Mouths full of tiny swords.
So this one kind of struck me. It's the Six of Pentacles card. It just, I don't know, gives me very much a devil vibe.
Hmm. Well, and I've always found what you would probably call the merchant in this. I always call him the merchant in the in the
Right.
traditional Rider Waite Smith Six of Pentacles, because he had that scale, and because he's giving out money to people who look like they may be beggars. They're always it always struck in me this idea of really elevating oneself up at the expense of others. Like, yes, I'm happy to be giving my money away, but it's because I am so wealthy and in this position. There's all of the sixes in tarot have a hierarchy.
Right.
So Pentacles, they're in all four sixes. One figure is higher than the others. So I thought it would be very interesting to have this kind of devil character, but rather than beggars, two very young, impressionable girls.
Mhm.
What are they signing up for? What
Right.
is
What are they signing away? Just for a handful of coins.
And again, that idea of female agency,
Mhm.
even at that young age. Yeah.
And can I just say, I love how you made the pentacles apple slices.
Thank you. Some people are confused by that. Some people think they're like, are they sand dollars or banana slices? Like, isn't it obvious it's an apple? Like, which is,
I guess they've never cut the apple that way.
I know. I guess they're not magical practitioners, perhaps, if they think
Right.
that. I don't know.
It happens. Mm. Husband's trying to sneak out, but the door's giving him away.
Oh, that's my husband. Sounds like a Foley. That sounded like the classic, like, "Meow."
Right? Oh my god. He was trying to be quiet. I guess when you get it to WD-40.
A for effort.
Hmm. Speaking of female power, your Hierophant is probably one of my favorite of all time. This
Great to see you.
female tree there to teach.
So when I was thinking
Listen.
about the woods, and I was
Mhm.
thinking about that element of teacher, mentor, and I love just learning from what's around you and what's in front of you. I love the idea that, like, if you were stuck in a cave or in a jail cell with a deck of tarot cards, you'd figure out how to read them and how to work with them. After after a very short amount of time, I would think. And I think that we are all very like most of us want to jump into a book, want to jump into a class, want to be taught
Right.
secrets of the universe, the secrets of tarot, the secrets of magic. But really, oftentimes, our best teachers are the flowers and vegetables and minerals and like animal energies that are around us all the time. And so, you
Mhm.
know, I do talk to trees, and I do sit in contemplative silence with trees and herbs a lot, and with the garden. And there's so much teaching there that I was just really excited. Especially, I happen to live on a property with a lot of willow trees, and
Mhm.
surrounding like a temperance like pond. So I was really excited to bring this card to creation because I spend a lot of time staring at and chatting with willow trees. They're my hierophants for sure.
I love willow trees. Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
I have plumeria trees all around me, so can't complain.
What did
I
you
love
say?
how they there.
You're near a mango grove?
We're near a mango grove. The mangoes are in the back though. So what we have right here is we've got dragon fruit, lilikoi, and there's this section of wetlands that they can't develop. And so one of the things I love to do is sit on my back lanai and just look out and watch the birds. Because there's so many birds here. Like it's unreal.
That's so cool.
And then right next to us, we have a tree that is not necessarily a welcome tree. It's an invasive species.
Uh-huh.
They're called kiave trees. And the Portuguese brought them when they came over. They brought them to feed their livestock because I guess these yellow bean pods that this tree creates, they get all their nutrients, all their food, all their water. They don't need to water the animals or anything. They get everything from these little bean pods. The problem is the trees themselves are covered in thorns, like constant, and they are an invasive species, so they just boomed here. They're everywhere.
Wow.
So sometimes when you're at the beach, you're walking along and you accidentally step on a kiave thorn, and that's not fun. But sitting here with this giant kiave tree right next to us, I've come to realize, like, yeah, for us, it's a pain in the butt stepping on those thorns and everything. But I'm watching how many birds are like sustained and lifted up by this one tree. So it's like that dichotomy of like, oh, it's a horrible invasive species, but it's giving homes to all these creatures at the same time.
So one of my favorite things to do at this property is we have tons of thistles. You know, those they appear like big, sort of like spiral galaxies, and then they grow into these monster purple-headed, like spike
Mhm.
creatures. And I always leave them, and I just kind of garden around them. And then when I'm in a really bad mood or I'm feeling dark or negative, I go out to one of the thistles and let it absorb all my negativity and all of the darkness that I'm feeling.
Mhm.
It always makes me feel better. Yeah.
That's interesting because thistles in Chinese medicine are made into a tea specifically to help with liver issues, which is where in Chinese medicine anger is. So, mhm.
See? Right, and I didn't even, but that's the whole point, and that's what's so exciting too. When you just go out and let like nature be your teacher, be your hierophant. Can I
Mhm.
just share? I was having a moment once where I was an intense, like, I was like freaking out, right? I was just an intense emotional whatever. So I decided to go out to the back, to my grove of
Mhm.
trees, and I just thought there'll be something there that can help me, and I'll know it when I see it. And this green plant was there, and I started working with it, and it did. It like calmed me down. So I took a picture of it, tracked it to find out what it was. It was
Mhm.
motherwort, and I look up the magical uses of motherwort. And what do you think was the very first thing that Google shows? It
It's great.
calms female hysteria. And I was like, of course. Like, we know so much more than, if we're just paying attention. Um,
Right.
And what's more, like, I find that we were brought to what it is that we need, rather than looking to see what somebody else says, or yeah. So I love
And I love how it's like you're learning on your own, and I learned it through like a Chinese medicine point of view, and yet it meshes perfectly.
that. Meshes perfectly.
Mhm.
So
I
cool.
love that.
So cool.
Okay, next one is the death card. I love this death card. And it's very interesting how the angel is just like in black and white. I just noticed that. Is that the little girl's guardian angel weeping over her?
I
Or
it's really more this kind of Christian idea of of death being this kind of heavenly place, but also um, something that is very mournful. This idea that, like, death is a force that kind of supersedes what human parameters can put onto the idea of it. And so I thought it was really interesting. In the traditional card, you have there's like a hierophant character or spiritual like pope who's like petitioning death, don't get me. And there's the dead king, and it's only the small child who's not afraid, who hasn't learned to be afraid of death. So I love the idea of a death character that would make even the angels weep.
yeah.
The
Oh, that's
child,
profound.
that the child has even more wisdom than the angels, in a sense.
Mhm. Well, and I like how that's portrayed by like the angel is very much in black and white, whereas the little girl is full color. So it's that idea that death is seen as a black and white thing, like either you're alive or you're dead. Whereas the little girl sees that it's a spectrum, right? Parts of you can be dead, but the rest of you is still living. So
And of course, there's the whole esoteric understanding of death in the tarot deck. And what
right.
people freak out, like most people that don't really know tarot, are like terrified when the death card comes up. But in the occultist view, death is at the point at which you suddenly understand the true nature of the universe, right? Death is not the 22nd card. It's number 13. It's the halfway point. It's the big change where suddenly you have the eyes to see, and the occultist begins their journey of return back up the tree of life. It's the whole point of initiation. I mean, the death card is what all of us are kind of going for when, in terms of figuring out some of the mysteries that make up our life.
Right. And yet at the same time, we try and not look at it.
Not when it impacts us in a negative way, or not when, and like, how much do we all fight change, right? The change that
Right. Well,
that
that's the thing.
of us.
Right. Well, for myself, I've dealt with a lot of death in my life, so I've come to terms with it and I understand it, and I don't fear it. I don't try and run away from it. But at the same time, it's like people grieve really hard, and like I grieve and then I come to peace with it. Right. Whereas other people, it's like they're grieving and grieving and grieving because they can't come to peace with the idea of death being not just that one person that they're missing, but everyone around them too. So I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Which brings us to strength.
Oh, I love this strength. Listen, I'm like, I love this card. So of course I like it, but I love this version of strength, because and the idea that this is her inner strength, which is symbolized by the Kundalini snake, and there's something marking all of her chakra points. This idea of being in alignment, and that rose coming through the cement wall, the stone wall behind her. If that's not an eloquent metaphor for strength, what flowers coming up through cement, I can't imagine what is. And yeah, so again, it's this idea of someone who's very much in control, and ownership and recognizes the power within them. And
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite strength cards. Because, you know, you always see the woman in the lion, the woman in the lion, the woman in the lion. And sometimes it's a woman and a tiger, or, you know, a wolf or a bear. But for it to be like the Kundalini snake here, and I don't know, that just, it really spoke to me on a deeper level than most strength cards. Because this is like, it takes a lot of strength to sit and meditate. It takes a lot of strength to really just get in touch with your own body to the point where you're comfortable being able to do this kind of stuff.
and it takes so much strength just to kind of be the captain of your own ship of energy. Right? Like without even any meditation, like without even any kind of practice put in, just kind of having ownership over your awareness, which is so much energy. It's that takes a lot of strength, because it's so easy to become distracted, and it's so easy to go down dark pathways. And yeah. So there's so many layers.
Well, and that for me, that kind of triggers something, because, you know, I've been doing acupuncture for a long time, and one of my worst patients are the ones who will just plop on the bed and go, "Fix me." I'm like, excuse me, you got to do the work. I'm here to help you, but I'm not here to fix you. That's your job.
And that's like the funny and interesting thing about magic and about tarot, this idea that like the spell does all the work for you. Or that using tarot will kind of like guide you towards the life of your dreams theoretically, but really it's about knowing yourself. And the more you know yourself, though, the more responsibility you have for yourself and your own actions. Yeah, that's a bummer. I would have, when I used to read professionally for people, you know, when I just had like tarot, same thing. I would have tarot clients who would just come and be like, "All right, tell me, you know, fix my life with your cards."
Oh God.
I'm like, I can give you some ideas. I'm not going to be fixing anything. It's your job.
I'm showing you the roadmap. You got to walk the path.
Exactly.
But that idea of not being in touch with your own body. There was an older woman I was treating. She wanted to take part in a marathon, but she'd never been athletic. And she's like, "And my knee hurts. So I want you to fix my knee so I can do this marathon." I'm like, "Okay, fine. Well, what part of your knee hurts?" "I don't know. My knee hurts. The inside, the outside, the top, the bottom." I'm like, "What part of the knee hurts?" "I don't know." I was like, "What? How do you not know what part of your knee is hurting?"
But it's like, it's the way I always say the way each of us inhabit our bodies it's so nuanced. It's the same as, like, I always say, like, everybody's experience of the material world and experience of themselves is as unique as their kiss, right? Like I practice a lot of yoga, and I'm still mystified by the way my body works. And you know, so it's like crazy. We think we're all kind of walking around in the same kind of reality, but we're so not. You know, some people have never, you know, it's never occurred to them to think about what something feels like deep within their muscles or their blood or their bones. Or even have an idea of cultivating the interior of their body. Yeah, so it's not surprising to me. And I just think it's something a lot of people don't think about.
Right. Well, and, you know, the whole, like, I treated her ongoing, and it was mainly the knee, but then we would start touching on other stuff, and it's just like she's completely disconnected. She's just like a head attached to a body, basically. She has no idea what's going on below the neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there's a good reason for that. Maybe she suffered extreme trauma, you know, as a child, or just, you know, maybe, I don't know, she's busy figuring out nuclear calculations with her brain, so she doesn't have time for the body. You're like, no, I don't. Doubtful.
Yeah, he was an interesting character for sure. And, you know, with my treatments, she did the marathon.
Oh, she did.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
And then she came back for follow-up treatment, of course, because doing the marathon blew out her knee again.
Of course.
Like,
Kudos to you. That's amazing. That's really great.
so I notice also that two of the majors here are animals. Speaking of nature and getting in touch, we got the emperor as the ram himself.
Yes, when it came time to design the majors, I felt like, I feel like that image right there is so much more emperor-like than any like king on a throne could ever be. Just because the archetype of the energy of the emperor is this like kind of, I don't want to say brute, but I look at a ram like that, and that's the first thing I think of is the horns. But I think that, and I love the idea that the emperor and the empress, it's kind of like their dance. They're kind of erotic. She's, just exploding with ideas and energy and potential, and he gives that shape and form. I love that, and I think that if you're looking at the energy that is strong enough to give form to the entire universe, right? Because it's the interplay between the empress and the emperor, that causes the material world to be. I don't know. I felt like it had to be like a Black Phillip ram. Yeah.
Yeah, with the red eyes. Yeah, I do like that idea of the empress being potential and the emperor being the thing that brings that potential into reality. Kind of a cool idea. Yeah. And then we have the chariot being a bald eagle.
That was one of the first, when I could design this deck, it was one of the first majors that I knew right away. I could feel it, and I wanted the person to feel, looking at the card, as if like they were in the middle of a field, like kind of a burned out field, and that the eagle was coming for them and ready to lift them off in the direction of their choosing. But there's something startling about it, because there's something so odd and interesting. The chariot in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is really packed with symbolism. It's very mysterious in that it's not a chariot that could actually really move. And so I like the idea in a dark wood that you would get carried away by this chariot. Yeah, as an eagle.
Makes me think Lord of the Rings. Get captured, but then you fly away. So there is these two cards that like separately are already like powerful enough, but when you see them next to each other, that's when, I don't know, for me it really just kind of, I don't know, hits the heart, so to speak. So in the Four of Cups, we have this one fox trying to, make their mate happy by bringing them a rabbit, and that fox is just mopey, right? But then the very next card is the Five of Cups, and you see the rabbit's mate grieving the loss of this one. So that combo, just, I don't know, when I was going through the deck the first time and saw those two together, it just like dagger to the heart.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about swords being a scary suit, but I think cups and emotions, I like that they're devastating, especially when it's things that are out of control, and when you can't see like your nose before the whole face, right? Like that. Right. Because it hurts. I feel like it's it's the most pain. And for the four, the Four of Cups, again, the traditional card, it's kind of interesting because that fellow looks like he's a little depressed, but he might be meditating. But I think the important lesson of the Four of Cups, because fours always imply stability, so you do have the stability of emotion, but there's always stuff that we can't see, and there's always gifts, and especially in the dark wood, right? What what gift is right there that you don't have the eyes to see? And especially when it's something like so beautiful, like a gift of the heart, which I mean, it's a dark gift of the heart, right? Because it's a dark. We like the dark gifts. Yeah. And then I love the Five of Cups. It reminds me of Watership Down, which terrified me as a child when I saw that movie. And bunnies are so sweet and so innocent that I thought that a sad bunny makes sense for the Five of Cups, because we've all been the sad bunny.
We've all been the sad bunny, right?
It's hilarious talking to you. I love it.
So, funny enough, there's the Ace of Wands at the bottom. So, question I always ask creators.
Yes.
Which was the hardest card to make, and which was your favorite card to make?
Which was the hardest card and which was my favorite? So, what's challenging as a creator, and I don't know if everybody else works this way or not, what happens is my initial idea, so I write up the entire script, an entire script for the whole deck before an artist is even attached. But inevitably what happens is the artist brings all of these like new energies and new gifts. And so what happens is my original idea transforms, and I want to kind of play run and catch up and do the cards justice with also where the artist is taking it with their kind of unique gifts. So I suppose I had trouble with the knights in this deck. With all 4 knights. I was hesitant to put them on horses. I don't know why. I got like this kind of bee in my bonnet that I was like, I don't want to put them on. It's my husband as well. Now he's opening the refrigerator door, not your door. So
yeah, my husband did that earlier. That was the banging in the kitchen.
So
for those.
So I struggled with the knights a bit, and yeah, I guess that's what sticks out to me. Just because I wanted them. I also think there's just so much inside of the knights. I don't know. Yeah, so I struggled with the knights. My favorite card, I would say oh gosh, they're all my favorite cards. I love like the whole suit of wands. I love the whole suit of swords. Can I say a suit?
So here's some of the knight, or I got all 4 knights actually.
Yeah, so he had to go on the horse because he's just explosive energy. There was no way not to. And I love the idea that he's kind of summoning all of the creatures of air, but rather than, because I just feel like sometimes it becomes like repetitive to have, the knights on their horses. So yeah, so he's summoning air creatures. And this romantic night, right? He's like set up a little picnic next to a waterfall.
Casanova.
That's right. And I was just asked about this card with a Tarot Space Tuesday group that I work with, and they were like, "We don't understand why does he look, sort of like sad and weighed down?" And I think that there's such a slow quality to the Knight of Pentacles. Of all of the cards of the deck, he's probably the slowest if you're looking at the knights in an energetic way.
Right.
So rather than putting I love the field, that's the unplowed field that's traditionally behind this card. So I thought rather than him being about to metaphorically plant something, I like the idea that he's giving it over again to an air creature to kind of take it away and allow whatever is inside that pentacle to come to fruition. I also have an owl on the Knight of Pentacles in my Haunted House Tarot. So that's just intrinsic to me. I don't know why.
That combo.
Yeah, because I feel like he's so slow. The Knight of Pentacles is so slow. He needs a little owl help, But my favorite card, honestly, I love the world. I love the world, and I love yeah, I love her. I love
Pulled it
the
out because I was gonna say that for those of you who don't know the deck, the story follows the Fool through the dark woods as she becomes the world.
yeah. So the same as in my haunted house tarot. The Fool begins completely innocent, but by the end, bitch owns the deck.
I love that.
So yeah.
So the new deck that's coming out, she's in charge, right?
Yeah, so the new deck, which is with a new artist, it's not Abigail Larson. This is with an incredible Italian artist named Natasha. The Dark Witch, the Shadow Witch, is now in her crone version, right?
Oh,
She's
wow.
mature. She has taken what was kind of charred and burned and like kind of destroyed, and transformed it into the Garden of Potential. So rather than being a place that's kind of scary and haunted, it's a garden of manifestation. And sort of like she has her gates open to all who want to come for rejuvenation, for magic, for beauty. It's kind of like a magical nature workshop. Yeah, and a real kind of like, if the dark wood is the dark, Tarot of the Witch's Garden is certainly the light, although I still love darkness. So wait till you see, oh my God, the Five of Swords is so wicked. It's so wicked. I think it's my favorite Five of Swords I've ever seen. It's really good.
Wow.
Really, really good.
Okay. When are you putting it on Instagram? I want to see it.
I'm taking my time. We can't rush.
But we saw the 4 aces.
Mm-hmm.
Those are gorgeous. I love those aces.
Yeah, and then the difference is with the new deck, it's all hand. Not only is it all hand watercolored, this was all, I think, done on a computer, but she also mixes her own colors.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, so the coloring of the deck is really extraordinary too.
Yeah. That's cool. I love artists that make their own colors.
Me too. You too. You do that? Do you paint?
Yeah, I paint. Funny thing is I found out that supposedly I'm slightly colorblind, but I've never noticed it, and I never noticed a difference in colors. And what I see seems to be what everyone else sees. So I don't know. If it's there, it's very mild.
Well, I like the idea of people who create their own colors also is being able to kind of put magic into whatever it is. Like you can put intention, spells, it's like magical cooking. Right. So it's much more than.
I have one actually right here.
Let's see. Oh, wow. Wow. That's a portal. That's a portal. Oh my goodness. Oh, those are those Thai puppets behind? No, Balinese puppets, shadow puppets you've got behind you.
Uh-huh. My mom got them for me when she was in Thailand.
Oh, very cool.
And I've had them for probably 20 years.
I love those shadow puppets. I have one in my red room.
Yeah. So I'm actually at my dining room table. This is just a little altar at the dining room table. And when I was setting up my channel, this just seemed like the perfect background.
Wait, you have an altar at your dining room table?
I got altars everywhere.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Let's see, how many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 maybe? I don't even know. It's just instinctual for me. I can't help myself. I just set up these little spaces.
So cool. Energy centers.
Hmm.
That's
And
awesome.
I've got crystals in every window, of course.
Mm,
Grid the house. Always grid the house.
fabulous.
Oh, thank you, Jamie. Jamie just says that you have such an eye for color as well.
So cool.
Thank you. I've actually been thinking about maybe someday doing my own Oracle deck, but I don't know. That seems like a lot of work, and I'm dealing with a 7-year-old right now, so I don't know if I have the energy for it. Someday.
Well, for sure. Well, I will say to you and to anybody who's out there, I never thought I would ever create a tarot deck, because in my mind, people would ask, "Oh, are you gonna ever do a deck?" And I'm like, "No, there's so many decks out there." But my Italian editor one day, he's like, "Sasha, you got to make a deck." And I'm like, well, "There's enough out there. The world doesn't need another tarot deck." He goes, "Sasha, it is a different thing, right? When you're reading the arcana, but it is something so special to have the arcana spring from inside of you." And the second he said that, I was like, "Oh, I want to feel the arcana spring from inside of me." And the thing that is amazing about creating decks and writing tarot books, and I hope that you do this, is that the act of bringing this into being, it is so magical. And so for you, like maybe if you even spent 5 to 10 minutes a day, like it doesn't have to be a big commitment,
Right.
just kind of jotting down what oracle did you notice, or what means something to you, because all of the symbols obviously and the energies that are coming through want to be
Mhm.
born, and it'll have so much energy behind it, and then it becomes also kind of like a moving picture book of your life as well. So if you or anybody out there who works with oracles or tarot, or do it. Don't wait. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's an amazing thing to
I
do.
think part of it is just since the pandemic, I haven't been very creative. I haven't been painting. I haven't really been making art. I mean, I started making wearable crystal grids.
Woo!
That's cool. But as far as like painting or drawing and stuff, I don't know. The drive just disappeared.
I know. Same here. Same. Well, I've gotten Stella's gotten a little of her groove back, thankfully, I will say,
Mhm.
because things have opened up, are starting to open up again. I had this fantasy that I was going to be so productive and creative and like take the time away, and instead, yeah, it was really hard. It was hard being away from people. It was hard not feeling the energy of others, not being inspired by art and culture, and just walking down the street and getting that like jolt of energy.
Right.
So I hope that you emerge soon. What's the situation in Hawaii with the pandemic?
We were starting to open up, and then they like pushed through a bunch of tourism, and ever since we've had a influx of Delta cases. So they're talking about possibly shutting some things down again.
Yeah.
Um, the hotels here are apparently at 110% capacity.
Really?
Yeah.
That's shocking. And I'm an avid traveler, but the one thing I'm not anxious to do is hop on an airplane right now. I feel like yeah, I don't know. It's just odd out there in the world right now. And
Part of it is that the airlines are putting out like cheap tickets. So like $99 one way to Hawaii. So
yeah,
a lot of people are jumping on that.
yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
That makes sense. It's a
And
shame
then
though, and then you feel like you're totally at the mercy, like same in New York City. New York City's
mhm,
wide open to anybody who wants to come in, and the Manhattan, like nobody in the city ever stopped wearing the masks inside. People are surprised that go to New York and they're like, wow, people like even as far as 3 months ago. But yeah, even if the worst should happen and we should go into some sort of a lockdown again, it feels known at this point, so it doesn't feel as daunting.
Right.
And as far as like just getting your creative mojo back, you know, I feel like that's the kind of thing you can't push it. Like it has to happen when it happens. You can't
Right.
be reeling it.
Well, and now that my son is back to school full time, which is another weird thing, is like, let's let in all the tourists, but everyone has to wear masks, and now we're gonna have to wear masks indoors again. And by the way, the students are still going to school. What? There was a big controversy about that, but he's there. They're all wearing masks, and they're all being very careful over there. So, knock on wood, everything's fine.
The kids don't seem to have much of an issue with it. It's a funny thing. It seems like the adults are all kicking and screaming. But yeah. I just hope people continue to be kind with each other and not,
Right.
And not let this divide people any further than we need to be divided.
Right.
Because we're in a weird and interesting time.
Ain't that the truth? So, Tarot of the Witch's Garden, do you have an idea of when it's coming out?
So we're still working on the deck. So Llewellyn will definitely be releasing it, I think, late next year, but we do not have the official pub date yet.
Okay.
So
Sometime 2022.
late 2022, maybe early 2023, we'll see. But there's still work. We're still,
Well, of course.
still, yeah.
It's a work in progress, and there's always going to be stumbling blocks you don't see that you have to deal with.
Yeah. Well, it takes a long time. The Darkwood Tarot took about 4 years to make.
Right.
From submitting the proposal to actual publication, which is funny because like my daughter, I found out we sold more than 50,000 copies, and my daughter was like,
wow.
"Oh my God, that's so much money." I was like, whoa. 4 years. Parse that out over 4 years, of so much time and effort and energy. Not anything anybody could live off of. It sounds like a lot all at once, but it was a lot behind the scenes. It is a lot behind the scenes, but it's also super fun. So I'm not complaining. But
Well, and I've heard from multiple creators, you get into this kind of stuff because you love it, not because you're going to make a lot of money off of it.
yeah, yes. Oh, and it's the best. Like just you doing that. Oh my God! Like I love seeing this. Like I can't believe it. Yeah, it's amazing. Yay!
I love this deck. And I really look forward to the sequel. I know you recently had a book come out, or is it about to?
Yes. So I don't have an image of it. I have a book coming out on October 8th called The Magic of Tarot. And the cover, it's actually kind of a companion book to the Darkwood Tarot. The cover art is by Abigail Larson. And the companion book can only be a certain number of pages. So this was my opportunity to take all of the shadow work that
It's still pretty extensive.
Yeah, that's a beautiful book. Oh God, I love it.
Really is.
You did a great job with the layout. Becky Zinn's my editor. She's amazing. So there's a lot of shadow work that I couldn't fit into the companion book for Darkwood. So that is all inside of the Magic of Tarot, as well as a lot of other interesting kind of magical. So it's really about how to make magic with your tarot deck, but also a lot of tarot basics. I have the 7 sacred cornerstones of constant magic, which is really the secret that's kind of hiding in plain sight in the 7 of Cups card. And so I'm super excited for that book to come out. And I'll be hitting the road virtually and literally and doing a lot of classes, workshops, and events around the release of that book in October. So
yeah, sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And I also, if I remember right, it's your first book that's going to be Audible. Is that right?
Yes. So, people have been asking me for years, like, oh, are there audio versions of your books? I don't have any control over that because Llewellyn handles all of the subsidiary rights and foreign rights and audio rights. So they just do their thing, and I just write the book, and that's kind of my job. So yeah, they reached out and said we've sold the audio rights, and so they ran the voice past me. I got to listen to her narrate. I forget her name, but she's an incredible narrator, over 500 titles under her belt.
Wow.
I'm just really delighted that there'll be an audio version, especially because one of my favorite ways to learn is late at night when I can't sleep, put on an audio spiritual book or a tarot book. I like to listen kind of in that receptive state. So I love the idea that, that people will have a new way to access my words other than just reading. So I'm really excited to have an audio version. And it feels like an author first,
Right. Oh, that's so good. Happy for you.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else in the works? I know you got a ton going on, but is there anything?
I do. So what do I have in the works? Yes. So we have Tarot of the Witch's Garden coming out next year. I've just completed a bunch of different guidebooks for Los Scarabaeo's release of what they're calling the original tarot of 1909. So there's all these different versions of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. There's the vintage tarot, which has a vintage feel. There's a circular tarot that's so cute. And I've written all of the guidebooks for all of those. So that's coming out. I have a bunch of articles and like Llewellyn annuals coming out. I'm working on a new book for Llewellyn that I can't talk about quite yet, but it's going to be good. And there's a new tarot deck in the works too, but I can't talk about that yet either. But yes, so lots of stuff. And not tarot related, but just super fun. I was an actress in the 90s. I was like a B-movie screen queen. And so I still do movies from time to time when my friends like reach out. And so I'm making a really fun movie this November called Trivial, where I play a deranged game show host.
Oh, I love it.
Has revenge ideas on her contestants. So that's in its Kickstarter phase, or it's crowdfunding on Indiegogo right now, but we'll be shooting in November. So, I think there's a very thin line between horror and the supernatural. It all kind of is like the same to me. So, oh my goodness, it's 3:00. We have to hit the road. So that's it.
Well, I have to shout out about next week. Next week, I have the amazing Anna Torian coming to chat about Tarot of the Abyss and her second edition of Oracle of Echoes. So I'm looking forward to that chat next week as well. And this has been such an amazing pleasure. Thank you, Sasha. And thank you, everyone in the chat. Oh, I just got to share this with you, Sasha. Jamie says, I think I'm in love with Sasha's brain.
Oh, thank you. I think my brain loves you too.
Yeah. Well, Jamie is the easy one to love.
Thank you, Jamie. Well, thank you for having me. This was awesome.
And Gerald says, Sasha's encouraging you, Jonathan, a minute to a day. Create it and release it. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, and thank you, Sasha, for being here. If you could just wait one moment after the live ends. Until next week, aloha and uiho.